and strength. While our mother finished her medical training in Manila, we lived with our grandparents in Samar and were separated from our dear mother, Mercedes, and younger sister, Shirley. Secure in the love of our grandparents and a large network of cousins, aunts, uncles, friends, and the community of Llorente who embraced us, my brother and I remember our childhood as happy and magical. As the eldest, eager to spread my wings, at first, I found having a younger brother who followed me everywhere a bit irksome. Desperate for a break from my little shadow, I fabricated travel to a mythical place that I called Zamboanga and would return at the end of the day bringing candy, comic books, and other treats to my adorable little brother who was always eager to hear about my adventures and so appreciative of the gifts I brought from my make-believe journey. We would laugh about it years later when we reminisced about the past. Fred always had a wonderful sense of humor and never lost his childlike innocence, which was very endearing. I am not sure when, at some point, we became inseparable. I grew to appreciate my brother as gentle but mischievous playmate, confidant, and wingman. In childhood photos, I'm invariably holding his hand and keeping a protective eye over him. We forged a special bond that remains unbroken, even in death. We would need to rely on that strength of the bond when our family immigrated to America in 1973. Manhattan was a bewildering new world, and we had to learn to adapt. As the two eldest of 5 children, Fred and I assumed adult responsibilities at a tender age, including working for pocket money and caring for our younger siblings, Shirley, Ed, and Rob. Still, we managed to organize fun adventures on a shoestring budget, with picnics at Fort Tryon Park, where Fred would indulge in his favorite Fig Newtons, and saving our meager allowance to afford our first ever hamburger experience at Burger King. Fred and I experienced our first snow together in New York while walking home from school one day. After admiring the beautiful snow falling around us, we suddenly felt the chill, especially in our hands. I remember my brother observing the people around us wearing bizarre protective covering on their hands, which he was excited to learn were called gloves. Another favorite memory is my brother watching television intently for hours, trying to understand a sport called football, and excitedly explaining the rules once he figured it out. He was always curious and excited after each discovery. Football became a passion for the family, and surprisingly, my mother became a football fanatic. Fred and I developed a keen interest in tennis. Despite his enthusiasm, he was not successful in coaching my sister and I, but perhaps he achieved greater success with our youngest brother, Rob, who went on to play varsity tennis. Fishing was a lifelong passion for my brother. Years later, I recall going ice fishing with my brother in upstate New York, a most boring sport, staring at a hole in the ice, freezing cold, waiting for fish that never surfaced. Yet we had fun reconnecting, sharing stories and silly jokes rooted in our shared experiences. When we moved to Memphis, Fred and I, along with our younger siblings, had to adjust to yet another new environment. We navigated the tricky transition from adolescence to adulthood together, while simultaneously bridging the gap between two cultures to create our unique blended identity as Americans. These were challenging years, and upon reflection, I don't believe I would have made that transition successfully without the unwavering support of my brother, whom I felt always had my back. For 22 years, I was the leading lady of my brother's life until he met my sister-in-law, Lori, in Germany. But I didn't mind losing my premier position because in his marriage to Lori, I gained an amazing sister-in-law, nephews, warm in-laws with the Romello family. With Lori, Fred built a secure base that he always longed for and reconnected with the culture we left behind. Fred and Lori were relaxed parents who gave me unfettered access to my adorable nephews, Christopher and Jeremy, which enhanced my life immensely and by extension deepened the connection to my brother in a new and meaningful way. With Vibbit, Fred and Lori finally gained the success that they had strived to achieve for so many years. There were daunting obstacles and sacrifices along the way, but I was confident they would succeed. Together, they made a formidable team, with Lori supplying the positive drive and Fred, her wingman, giving her the support to thrive and reach for the stars. They built an expansive network of partners and colleagues who have become a second family to them. I believe my brother passed away happy, knowing that he and Lori were transforming lives. And after years of hardship, they finally had the means to relax, take fun vacations, and most importantly, have a secure future for his youngest son, Alex. Fred and I were opposites in many ways, yet we never fought. We were never competitive and took pride in each other's accomplishments. There was an innate understanding of each other's vulnerabilities, which made us accepting of our differences and protective of each other. In the past 2 weeks that I have stayed with my sister-in-law and nephews at the very same home that I have visited for over 30 years, I am comforted by the familiarity, the many happy memories, and my brother's loving presence. In the past week, I have met many of you when you visited the house to express your condolences. I am touched by your stories on how my brother impacted your lives, and grateful for the stories you shared about my brother speaking of me so positively and holding me in a high regard. It means a lot to me to know that our special connection, while sometimes stretched and frayed, was never broken. My brother, through his unconditional love, inspires me to accomplish and create a meaningful legacy in this lifetime. At the end of every call, I would always tell my brother I loved him. On this day, when I must reluctantly accept the unthinkable, I say to him, as I always did, I love you, Frederick, and I will miss you profoundly. You are irreplaceable. It breaks our hearts to lose you. Thank you, Fred, for gracing our lives for 59 years.